Hello everybody, Rick Malero here with His Capital and Mission 823, and I want to first and foremost thank each and every one of our investors and even our staff members who so generously gave the moment they found out that Ukraine needed support. So first I want to thank each and every one of you, and I want to give you in the next couple of minutes a quick update on the most recent mission trip that we took to Ukraine to really physically deliver some of the resources that you helped us to get so that we can be the difference in those lives in Ukraine. So we really hope this video is a blessing to you and that it inspires you to continue to pay it forward. Now, the objective of this trip was specifically to accompany the resources that you guys so generously gave. We needed to connect with our local partners in different areas of Ukraine, and we wanted to personally hand deliver some of those resources to the people that need it most. Needless to say, it was a very emotional trip. What was supposed to be a 7-day trip for me ended up being 3 weeks. What I would like to do today is to just share with you just a couple of amazing experiences that we had, things that I call eternal coincidences. And I really hope that you'll see the impact that you had virtually, but in the actual places that needed it most. Everything about this trip was difficult. It literally took us just 4 days to get there because of all these issues. And when we got there, we realized that many of our resources were still missing because they hadn't even crossed, and we really didn't know how to locate them. So we had to deal with a lot of communication for logistics. We started heading to one of our missions, which was Kharkiv. We were bringing a lot of resources from food, water, clothing, you name it. We brought a truckload of those resources. When we were just about to get there, about 45 minutes away, we were told by our security team that, you know what, it's probably not wise for us to continue today. Why don't you guys find another place to stay the night and we will regroup. So of course, we listened to our team. We went to lunch to a completely different place. And while we were having lunch, we met this young lady. We found out that she actually was very well connected in the military. So we began to tell her that some of the resources, specifically our military backpacks that had all kinds of medical aid, were stuck and we only had one bag. So she agreed to take the one bag that we had. She opened it up, looked and saw how powerful these tools were to save lives. And so she said, you know what, give it to me. Let me do what I can to try to find a solution. So she moved on, left with the bag. We continued on the rest of the journey. We found out later that in Kharkiv, close to 20 bombs went off that same day. So had we been there, we really would have had some major issues. Now, we didn't realize this at the time, but also, had we not derailed, we would have never met her. And shortly after meeting her and giving her the backpack, just a couple of days later, we started getting pictures from her of Special Force soldiers with the backpack. And they were now commissioning it, saying, hey, this is saving the lives of children all over Ukraine. Please get us more. Interestingly enough, all of our bags begin to arrive within a week of this encounter, which now is literally going in the field as we speak. This truly was a divine moment that not only protected us from potentially dying with an actual airstrike, but we connected with the right person that we would have never met on this trip, who helped us to not only release the resources, but to get the resources into the front lines. One of our stops, we went to a little city, and this particular village, to be honest with you, had been decimated by the attacks. But looking at buildings destroyed, watching literally bullets through doors, bombs had destroyed so many homes in this area. It was literally heart-wrenching. And when we got to our point of contact there, to be honest, she could have easily said, hey, look, store all of your resources here for me. But she didn't. The first thing she did is she started lining up the neighbors to make sure that we can make sure that everybody had food, that everybody had clothing, that the children had toys, and that the building materials would be distributed to those who had need. It was such a beautiful, inspiring moment. In that particular trip, we also went to see where she stayed with almost 20 people during the bombings. And we got to literally squeeze into that room and realize just how scary and how horrible those conditions had to be for them to survive. But yet she still had this beautiful smile on her face. In fact, without even thinking about it, she literally served us her last meal and the last of her drink as she welcomed us as family. And it made us realize that in every circumstance, we can always be grateful for something. Now, we still were able to provide a lot of resources to these people. Until this day, we still have a game plan to continue to help that village in particular. But it was just an amazing moment, a holy moment, where we're able to partake and learn from somebody who was a victim. But instead of turning that pain into misery, she turned it into an opportunity to be a blessing to others. On another one of our stops, we connected with some of the top leaders in Ukraine. In fact, we had the great honor and privilege of spending time with Dmitry Kuleba, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And luckily, we've been supporting their group, who actually at the moment is rescuing over 500 people on a daily basis, taking them directly from the conflict zones into safety and trying to help to bring support. We learned a lot about the circumstances and the dire situations. In fact, over 300,000 children have been stolen by Russians, and there are witnesses showing and collaborating that these people would take these kids and take them to Russia, and nobody knows what's going on. And so it's just completely heartbreaking. But now this gives us an opportunity for those that they were able to rescue to focus on what we can do in partnership with them to make sure that we try to redeem the time for those children. And so in those conversations, we talked about the exact needs, and that's where we started coming up with an actual game plan of how we're going to approach the rest of our focus going forward, because now that we understand the actual needs, we can really be more effective in our efforts